Hey everyone, welcome to the Conversations with Entrepreneurs series. My name is Joshua Fillmore. I'll be hosting the series on behalf of the USB Ed's Young Minds program. I'll be joined by a diverse range of some of the finest young entrepreneurs South Africa has to offer. We'll learn a bit about their journey, their thoughts on entrepreneurship and the role it plays in shaping the future of our country, and get a few first-hand tips for young entrepreneurs looking to start their own companies. Let's jump right in.
Our first guest this morning is the incredibly inspiring Alexandria Procter, who's the founder and CEO of DigsConnect. She's also a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Shapers. She recently delivered an exceptionally powerful speech in Parliament, which I'd recommend you guys check out, and is in the process of publishing her first fiction book. I think it's safe to say she's an all-round boss woman, and in my personal opinion, one of the best young entrepreneurs and thought leaders in South Africa. Digs was founded in 2017. They've raised over 12 million Rand to date, and we're recently...
Actually 14. We had like
14
a little
now.
around. Yeah.
Incredible. And they recently were awarded the top property technology company in Africa for 2020, which is absolutely huge.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad I'm the first person to go. I'm always like, when you have like a setting and someone's like, who wants to go first? I'm always the person who volunteers. And I'm like, I'll start.
Super simple. Can you just give us a brief overview of what DigsConnect does and why it's important?
So DigsConnect is a student housing marketplace. So basically landlords go on and create listings, students go on and find a place to stay. So it's pretty straightforward. And I'd say actually being as focused as you can is a lot harder and a lot more important than I sort of gave credit to when I started out. So kind of just doing that, just solving that key problem, like how to connect landlords and students is like my life's obsession at the moment. I spend a lot of time thinking about just solving this one, what seems like a really basic problem, but as you dive deeper, it gets more complicated. I have this like mental model I think about of like horizontal versus vertical like exploration. So like horizontal is when you explore like lots of different things at kind of surface level, but when you go vertical, you go like really deep. And so a seemingly simple question, like how to just match up landlords and students. We're currently the largest in South Africa, the largest actually in the African continent. And we're going to be making an announcement pretty soon about further expansion, which I can't share just yet, but hopefully by the end of the month. And when I came to Cape Town, like I had the same issue that every out of town student faces, like how the heck do I find student accommodation? Oh my gosh, it is like so hard, like unless you know someone or you bump into someone in a lecture or you have like a WhatsApp group and you kind of say, hey, do you have a spare room? Or, you're looking at posters on walls. It's really hard to find really good, safe, legit accommodation. You get scammed on those other dodgy free websites, or other landlords don't want students to go stay there, or you can't really see, what does the room look like, what's included, is there Wi-Fi, like where's it going to be? And so, yeah, it's just, it's how do we fill this need in the sector? And that's kind of what we popped up with, because even though there's a lack of formal housing on campus, there isn't a lack of, housing generally in the country. And so we work with the private sector, and these are anyone from your private companies that have built these really large scale purpose-built student accommodations. And we have one building in Pretoria that has like 2,000 beds, all the way, to your 2-bedroom flats, a spare room in a digs, all of those. It's just kind of like gathering up all the stock out there, putting in one place that's systematic, and you can look through and filter through and find what you're looking for.
I understand that Digs itself was founded during the housing crisis, which came to light with the Fees Must Fall movement. I take it on this, you're obviously quite a firm believer that opportunities are born in times of crisis. And there's also a big role which entrepreneurship plays in solving a lot of the issues which our government doesn't necessarily address face on. Can you share a bit of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because so much to say. Winston Churchill actually has this great quote, which has been attributed to him, but I don't know if it's maybe true enough. But he says, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I've always liked that because, when things go very pear-shaped, like I think your natural response as a human to kind of like panic a bit, and you want to kind of like circle the wagons and be like, okay, what's going on? But I think if you kind of break away from that thinking, and kind of break away from that kind of more like, I don't know, almost like animalistic, like, oh my gosh, when there's just like almost like a black swan event, But to rather think, okay, cool, everyone's probably feeling the same way as I was feeling. Everyone's feeling a bit scared or vulnerable or uncertain, but everyone wants that certainty. People still have the same kind of like desires. They want to feel safe, they want to feel secure, they want to like have an idea where the future's going, they want to feel entertained, they want to have food, they want to have like housing, they want to travel. All those like same experiences are still there. But when like the environment shifts quite a lot, like new like evolutionary niches kind of open up. So I'd say big shifts, even though they're personally quite terrifying, like professionally, they can be a really good opportunity.
As far as I know, Digs is rapidly approaching about 100,000 users on the platform. And I think you're pretty shortly going to hit 65,000 transactions as well. Digs is only a team of 6 highly talented individuals. And that means that there's over 16,000 users and 10,000 transactions per team member. How did you guys go about finding your first few customers?
So the first customers, I can like very clearly recall this. Cold calls kind of suck, right? Like it's really hard making cold calls. And I remember when I had the first website, and because I was a student, it was quite easy kind of getting students excited, because I mean, I was at UCT, so I could just speak to everyone around me. I used to go to lectures, chat to people, put posters up. Like I used to go to, Digs parties and go like market at Digs parties. I was that person who everyone's trying to like hang out, and I'd like bring out some flyers and be like, hey, have you heard of DigsConnect?
Amazing.
I was just absolutely, I went to Plate Rage even. I was marketing at Plate Rage. I was just shameless. Like of all the things that I've done, I think that like the task that has the greatest reward and the greatest difficulty is recruiting and management. Like, because I mean, it's people's lives, you're bringing people on to your rocket, you're convincing them that what you're doing is worthwhile, it's worth their time, it's worth them getting involved, and especially like incredibly talented and brilliant and driven people. And it's extremely humbling having this position where you have to now like almost be the custodian of their career. And when things get really difficult, which last year there was obviously a huge crash in property, and we're in the PropTech space and all universities went remote. So there was a moment there where we were like, and it was a bit scary. And having to have that kind of like guide the ship through all that. It's a very difficult task. And I actually took a mentor on just to help me like kind of get better at that. I think so much of the world, we have these like leadership conferences and books on leadership, and everyone just like throws this word leadership. It's like another buzzword, it's another one of those like, synergy buzzwords or leapfrog. It's like leadership, but like you can't ever really prep for it until you're doing it, and you realize just how difficult it is. I feel like I've still got so much to learn with that.
I imagine some of the people in the audience aren't aware of it, but if you're not, you should definitely catch a wake up and keep an eye on Digs. They had presence at 8 different campuses across South Africa over this weekend. I know you guys recently announced that you've listed hundreds of beds and properties in the Free State and Northwest Province. And you also are partnering with pretty much all of the private colleges in South Africa, players like EduVas and Varsity College. Looking back at the journey and seeing how far you guys have come, how does that make you feel?
Some days when you ask me how I feel, I'll be like, I'm exhausted. Oh my gosh. And other days I'll be like, it's amazing. I'm so inspired. Like I could do this forever. Some days are tough and you just feel like you're staring into the abyss. I think Elon Musk said, building a company is like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. And when you start, you're like so hopeful and you're so like blissfully ignorant, like hold on to that ignorance as long as you can. Like it's not a blocker. It actually works in your power. Like not knowing how hard it's going to be, like be happily ignorant. Like it's a dream, like stay in that state as long as you can.
There was the famous money drop where you guys showered students with 50,000 Rand in cash. And I know you guys have obviously come up with a bunch of other campaigns as well. Your mascot, the Digsaw, can be found all over the place.
It's currently Durban walking the streets. So if anyone's in Durban, look out for the Digsaw.
Absolutely love it. So who in your team actually comes up with these ideas, and how important is it to connect with your customers in ways that really speak to them?
You got to be creative with content. Like everyone's a content creator these days. I think it was Andreessen Horowitz who said like every company has to be its own media house. Like you're responsible for your brand, you're responsible for distribution. Like And if everyone's creating content, like you have to kind of just like stand out, like anything, like you have to kind of stand out. And I think that like everyone has this like innate fear of like ridicule or like public backlash. They kind of stay quite contained. But like, I don't know, something I always think is that like best case scenario, you're going to be dead in like 100 years. Like you haven't really got that much to lose, to be honest. Like do something awesome, like do something creative, like speak your mind, like do something awesome, really. Like there's one quote I have on my wall, it says, don't leave this world without having done something wonderful for humanity. And I think what can be more wonderful than your own, like your authenticity, you know, your uniqueness. So just like unleash that and like be wild.
Cool. I'm going to finish off with a more personal one. How lucky do you consider yourself and why?
I think everything's relative. You know, I think that like you can be in any situation and be happy or be sad, you know, in any situation and feel lucky or unlucky, privileged or unprivileged. Like there's obviously like objective scales on the outside. You have like, you know, GDP per capita or like the metric scale to like measure things objectively. But in terms of like a subjective opinion, it's so relative. But I think that I do feel lucky, just because like Earth exists, you know, the universe kind of like conspired a way to make life feasible for this period. I think that I got very lucky with my parents, especially my dad. You know, I never speak with my dad much in interviews, but he really has been such an incredible force in my life. Like he really, I think, like was only instigated my passion for learning and for like creativity, and for books and reading and knowledge, and created like such an incredible safe harbor for me whenever I would kind of do these really risky things, you know, like flying to India when I was 17 and to find the meaning of life, or starting a company. Like he's always been, even though like a bit worried at times about me, like such like a sounding board, you know, such like a pillar of stability in my life. And so for him, actually, like I don't really spoken about much. I wish I had spoken about it more, but for him, I think I'm really lucky.
Amazing. That's awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Alex. We really appreciate it a hell of a lot.
Thanks for watching this episode of Conversations with Entrepreneurs. For more info on the featured entrepreneur and their business, check out the links attached below. The series is proudly brought to you by USB Ed's Young Minds program, which assists students in defining their life goals and creating their own career opportunities. I'd highly recommend checking out the program and visiting USB Ed's website for other world-class business learning opportunities. Until next time, cheers.